Trump is now defending his remarks that sound a lot like language that was once used by Adolf Hitler. Let's listen to what Trump had to say about that.
First of all, I know nothing about Hitler. I'm not a student of Hitler. I never read his works. They say that he said something about blood. He didn't say it the way I said it either, by the way. It's a very different kind of a statement. What I'm saying when I talk about people coming into our country is they are destroying our country.
Yeah, Scott, he says he doesn't know anything about Hitler, but at the same time, he's doubling down on this rhetoric.
I actually don't think there's a lot new here. And I really think the Democrats who are screaming about him being the next Hitler really ought to take a good hard look at what's going on in their own base right now, because there's a whole bunch of anti-Semitism on the left-wing progressive flank, and Joe Biden is competing for their votes. And if they're worried about Adolf Hitler, maybe they ought to talk to some of their own supporters about the anti-Semitism that's running rampant on our college campuses and across cities all over this country.
Yeah, and Scott, I mean, you know, once Trump is aware of the fact that he's echoing Hitler, I mean, shouldn't he stop echoing Hitler?
So we'll have this conversation one more time, as we've been having it for the for the last 8 years. Donald Trump says something, a motive is ascribed to it that may or may not be true. I think it's not true in this case. But once he realizes that he is driven the left or the media crazy with some kind of language.
You don't think he's sending signals to white supremacists? He
doubles down on it. He triples down on it. So
I know, but Scott, you don't think he's sending signals to white supremacists? I mean, it's the holidays. I don't want to get into a shouting match, but I have to cut you off a little bit. Don't you think he is sending signals to white nationalists and white supremacists when he says poisoning the blood of our country? I mean,
no.
If we were standing next to the bowl of eggnog, I would have to stop you here and say no. That sounds like what he's doing.
We'd also put more rum in the eggnog, probably.
Here's what I believe. I think when Donald Trump does things like this, ultimately, it's fairly counterproductive when the full situation unfurls and you see the way the language around it is being described. So, yes, do I think it's counterproductive? Would I go around making these quotes, especially after learning about the historical context of it? Of course not. Do I think that was his motivation in the first place? No. And do I think Republicans are hot to trot about illegal immigration? Yes. And has it been the motivating issue of his entire political rise? Yes. And so I feel like this is being blown out of proportion. But is it counterproductive to him? Of course it is.
I don't know that it's being blown out of proportion, just real quickly. But what I will say is, we know something now that we did not in 2016, and that is when he says these things, we should believe him, because he did pass a Muslim ban, because he is saying that he's going to do a mass deportation, because he did, he has had a very precarious relationship with the far right and the alt-right and white nationalists. So again, I think, the point is, let's not overreact. Let's take him at his word.